Right, so today we're going to bust some serious myths, because in this industry there is an awful lot of twaddle spoken about shaft flex. The fact that it might be able to send the ball high, it sends the ball low, it walks your dog. Maybe not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our fantastic Gears 3D system here at Archerfield to put this to the test. So using the Callaway Paradigm standard head in standard lie, I'm going to hit 5 balls with the Rifle 105 gram shaft in regular flex, stiff flex and extra stiff flex, all standard length, 37 inches, to show you what happens and what shaft flex really does to the delivery of the club and ultimately the ball flight. Let's take a look. Okay, welcome to Gearsland once again. So here I am with the regular flex in yellow, and then here I am with the stiff initially in blue. So the big thing that shaft flex influences is the twist of the shaft. It's the twisting motion. Launch influences a bit, and I'll explain that towards the end, but the primary function that shaft flex has is the shaft twist. And to show you here, if I kind of take me into impact, so this is me coming into impact, and then we go to that point there, and then what I'll do is I'll make the graph nice and big, so we're at impact. So the blue is the stiff shaft, and then the yellow is the regular flex. And we can see here at delivery, I have got a quite colossal 5.36 degrees there with the regular versus 0.13 with the stiff. So the interesting thing there is that, and that's 5 degrees difference, that's quite significant. So the other thing that's really interesting, even with the stiff flex, is that I've got an awful lot of movement here. Overall, I've got kind of 1 degree there, and then I'm up at 5. So that's nearly 6-7 degrees of overall twisting going on there, even with the stiff. So then when I popped the extra stiff into my hands, you can see that the overall motion there of the shaft twist is slightly reduced. Still probably up there a little bit. I mean, you could probably say that we'd probably want to reduce it a little bit, but the ultimate thing about the delivery is that the extra stiff, I've got significantly less twist going on there at impact. So when we have a look here, we've got 5.36 versus 2.80. So that's great, only so what? So the influence that had on the ball flight, this is the most important thing probably, right? So here I've got regular flex is the white, orange is the stiff, and then we've got the extra stiff in blue, and we've got a clear winner. I think the most obvious thing to really notice is the dispersion, and the dispersion primarily is influenced by this bad boy, this face to path, and in particular the variability of the face to path. So you see here 0.7 degrees, that's the variability with the extra stiff. With the regular, I've got 1.3 degrees of variability, so nearly double, right? So that means that the overall face control I've got, primarily because of the shaft, is 50% better. So, sorry, we could even say 100% better, depending on how we want to think of it. So, regular to stiff, we can see there it's reduced. Extra stiff, night and day, so much better. That produces better energy transfer, better shots, happier ollie. That's the key. Side note, anyone thinking about the actual delivery of the club, we can see here that the club path stayed pretty stable all the way through. So I like a little buttercut, right? That's most of the time. So that's really the major thing when it comes to shaft twist. When shaft twist and shaft flex. So the other thing that is worth mentioning is the shaft motion. So when we have got the regular flex, we've got, if we zoom in here, we've got these variables here called shaft deflection and shaft droop. And with the regular, 19.29 millimeters and 40 millimeters with the droop. And then we've got significantly less droop in particular and a little bit less deflection there with the extra stiff. Now, what is that? Well, basically that shaft deflection and droop, if we center in the regular here, we can see that the deflection is the forward bending of that shaft relative to the zero line. So caused by the handle decelerating, club head accelerating, that happens to every golf shaft, but the amount, again, flex does influence. So we can see there that the amount that we've got between the blue and the yellow, well, you can see that the blue is significantly less. So side note, about 10 millimeters of deflection is about 1 degree of launch. So it's an influence, but not an awful lot, and not as much as people like to think. All right, and then we've got another, this shaft droop. So here we can see here, so we can see the yellow and the blue. So yellow is regular, blue is extra stiff. We can see once again the amount of droop that you've got there with the extra stiff is significantly less than with the regular. So people will also say, right, well, that's going to influence the lie angle. Yes, it will, and it does a little bit, but when we again have a look at the overall difference, we can see that regular 2.76 degrees, and then we've got, extra stiff is 2.53. So it does a bit, but it's not an awful lot. So that you would sort with the static lie of the club head. So yeah, serious myth busting, and yeah, I think that shaft twist is the message of the day. So whilst shaft flex influences launch a little bit, it's a little bit. It's maybe a degree and a half at absolute max. Shaft flex is primarily down to the shaft twist and the face to path stability. So ultimately, it's going to help you with the dispersion of your shots, not the launch. So that, if you're going for a fitting, which I highly recommend, I think that for me is the number one message. Look at your dispersion when it comes to flex, not so much launch. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Please send me any questions you might have. Always like to hear them. And stay tuned, more to come. Thanks for watching.